As you know, onCreate is called towards the beginning of the activity's lifecycle, and this is typically where we set up the variables and graphical user interface that will be used throughout the activity's lifecycle. Now here at line 63 you can see where we're inflating the main graphical user interface, and then we start creating the other variables that we need, such as our data structures, file name list, quiz countries list, and regions map. We initially set the number of guess rows to 1 because we're going to only display one row of guesses, which contains 3 guesses initially. At lines 69 and 70 we create our random object and our handler. The random object again will be used to help us randomly choose images for the game, and then the handler will be used to delay the display of the next image in the game, the next flag in the game, after a correct answer. Now at lines 73 and 74 we take advantage of the animation utils class to load up an animation, and you can see it's got a static method called load animation, and it's receiving 2 arguments: the context for the animation, which is this activity, and then separately we have the resource r.anim.incorrectShake, and R it stands for something in the res folder, anim is the subfolder, and then incorrect shake represents the name of the file without the .xml extension. That is the animation that we'd like to load, and we've said that we'd like to repeat this animation a total of 3 times when we play it, and of course we won't play it until we get an incorrect answer. At lines 78 and 79 we show you how to use a resources object to load a string array from the strings.xml file or from any of the values files that represent values that you can use in your app. So getResources is an inherited method that we get from extending class activity, and it returns, as I hover over it here, a resources object. The resources object contains many methods, including getStringArray, and getStringArray takes as its argument the ID, the resource ID, of the array that we'd like to load up into memory, in this case regions list. So if you go to the strings.xml file, you can see here in lines 18 through 25 the regions list that's going to populate that array. After we get the region names at lines 82 through 83, we have a little for loop that's going to populate the regions map with the names of the regions in region names and the values of true, indicating that all of the regions should be enabled as the app starts executing. Now, we could take advantage of the shared preferences capabilities that we've introduced earlier to store the user's preferences permanently for the app, so that each time we start executing the app, let's say the user always wants 9 answers to be displayed to make it a difficult quiz, and let's say the user always wants certain regions to be displayed, rather than always starting from one row of guesses and all regions enabled, we could store this information into the shared preferences to allow the user to have those preferences stored with the app and have them reinstated when the app starts executing the next time. So that's a nice little enhancement that you could try to this app. Lines 86 through 91 just get references to the different GUI controls that we need to interact with programmatically, and for one of those, the question number text view, we go ahead and build a string that's going to get displayed with the setText method. Now you can see in each case that we get the resources object, then we get a string with a specific resource ID, in this case question and of, and we're adding the strings 1 and 10 into the string that we're building. In the next lesson we'll actually show you how to store formatting strings in your strings.xml file and then load and use those formatting strings, which is actually better for internationalizing and localizing your apps, because you can then have different string representations for different languages and just plug values into those formatted strings. So again, we'll see that in the next lesson. And then finally at line 98, before we end method onCreate, we call reset quiz, which starts a new quiz for us and gets the first flag displayed.